Antonio, welcome to Real Vision.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. You, of course, are the founder of dYdX. We are going to talk all about that and some other things. But first, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you are a computer science graduate from Princeton. You have extensive experience in the Valley as an engineer. Talk a little bit about your path to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my first job out of school at Coinbase as a software engineer. And I got to Coinbase really differently than how basically everybody else got there at the time. This was back in 2015. So Bitcoin was still a very niche thing. And there were some people that were super into it at that time, but it was by no means mainstream. And I didn't really know anything about crypto before I started working at Coinbase. It was just kind of one of the 20 or so companies I applied to my senior year of college. But Coinbase did this really interesting thing in their interview process where they did this work trial, basically, where they flew me out to San Francisco, put me up in a nice hotel for a week. But during that week, I got a chance to meet the people that were working at Coinbase at the time. And in 2015 at Coinbase, a lot of the really best people that were in crypto at the time were at Coinbase. So I met all these really awesome people, saw they were really smart, was really excited to work with them. And they were all really excited about this thing that I didn't really get in Bitcoin. But that enthusiasm, I think, was really infectious. And while we were there, it really just kind of felt like this, I don't know, like private club or like private group where we were all excited about this Bitcoin thing, and nobody else understood what we were talking about. But like I said, the enthusiasm was infectious. And while I was there, I just got super excited about the future of Bitcoin and like how it could impact the financial system.
Right.
And then the really interesting thing that happened while I was at Coinbase in the crypto space more broadly was Ethereum came out and Ethereum was invented. And we had a really great front row seat at Coinbase in terms of seeing the advent of Ethereum. Like we had Vitalik come and talk to us pretty early, had people like Olaf Carlson-Wee and Fred Ursum at the company giving talks to us all on like gas usage for smart contracts and kind of all these technical aspects of this new smart contract platform. And I don't think any of us, except for maybe Olaf, got it like right off the bat. I think it took about 6 to 12 months for it to really sink in terms of what Ethereum was and how it was different from Bitcoin and what was possible because of that. But yeah. I think, at least for me, like once that really sunk in, that, blockchain wasn't just about payments. And that's what we had thought Bitcoin was for at the time, like maybe payments and kind of like investment or potentially store of value. But now for the first time, you can have this entirely new computing paradigm on Ethereum, or for the first time ever, you can write these programs in smart contracts, just have them run on the blockchain, have them be totally autonomous, not controlled by anybody. And it occurred to me at the time that, like I said, this is a fundamentally new paradigm for computing. Like you can do things that you could never have done before. And it made sense to me that given that there must be interesting new things that you could build on top of Ethereum. And that was really exciting to me. And again, this was back in early 2016. And I didn't really know what, was useful to build on top of Ethereum at that point, super early in the space. Took a little break from Coinbase or kind of left there, did a little stint at Uber. I was only there for about 6 months or so, and then left to start my own thing. And then the first thing I started was actually not dYdX. It was something else, but I bring it up because I think the story is kind of illustrative for at least my journey as an entrepreneur. The first thing I started was a search engine for decentralized apps. I left my job at Uber at this point. I was working on this thing by myself full-time for about 4 or 5 months, built this whole site. Kind of the idea was that you could look at transaction data on the blockchain to come up with a better version of PageRank, basically, because there's a lot of information about like which addresses are calling which smart contracts. You can kind of assign weights to given contracts, or at least that was the idea. And it sounds like a good idea, and probably it will be at some point. But the problem was I launched this thing and literally nobody used it. I think I had like 5 users ever of this particular search engine. And the thing that really taught me about being an entrepreneur was that the most important thing in entrepreneurship is timing. Almost anything that like seems reasonable will probably be useful on some time horizon. Like Chris Dixon has this great story that I'll just quote, where it's like there was some game or something and kind of the .com bubble of like all these ridiculous companies that were founded at the time. And now like a bunch of them 20 years later have gone on, or like a bunch of those ideas have gone on to become like unicorn level companies. And I think the same thing is true in a lot of new spaces, where everything seems like a great idea, but it's just when you build things, that's really important. So anyways, at this point, I had been working on the search engine for 4 or 5 months. I'd kind of in my mind, yeah, Waypoint, it was called. Nobody really knows about it, and that's okay. But I've been working on the search engine for like 4 or 5 months full time. I'd kind of budgeted in my head about a year or so for myself to take time off work to, try to start a company. So I was about halfway through that. And I decided to take a reset and think about, okay, well, the search engine thing isn't working. What can I build on top of Ethereum? Because again, I was completely convinced that there would be something to build on top of Ethereum that would be valuable. But what could I build that's valuable right now in the market? And the main way people were using cryptocurrency at that point, and of course, still to this day, is for trading and speculation. And the interesting thing that was happening, and at this point, it was about mid 2017, in the space was the advent of the very first decentralized exchanges, the very first decentralized spot exchanges specifically, in things like 0x, things like Kyber, and a few other ones. And I was pretty excited by this because it seemed like the natural progression of decentralized finance, where, at the bottom of the financial stack, you have decentralized assets. And then after that, if you build decentralized exchanges, now you can trade decentralized assets on a decentralized exchange. So I took a look at that and thought, well, okay, that's really interesting, but what's next in kind of the financial progression? And again, kind of proposed this like decentralized financial stack, because you can't build things higher in the stack before you have things lower in the stack. And I felt like the next logical thing to build was kind of more advanced financial products in kind of margin trading. And now specifically, we're focused on derivative products. But again, you can't build margin trading, you can't build derivatives without having a decentralized, without having an exchange. You can't build an exchange without having assets. And kind of this whole new stack is entirely decentralized. So that was kind of the genesis of the idea. At that point, when I was thinking about starting dYdX, I really didn't know very much of anything about kind of derivatives. So it took some time to get educated in terms of just talking to all of my former classmates who had gone on to work in finance and various people like that. And this is still something I think I'm working on. Obviously, I'm not going to have as much experience in options as someone who's been trading them for decades or something like that. But definitely, I have been learning quite a lot over the past couple of years about the space and about finance in particular. And yeah, we've been just talking about our journey like at dYdX, started out building margin trading, and then, like I said, are kind of moving on to derivative products today.
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto. It's 100% free. Sign up now.